So normally I'm the type of guy that I hate when people bring up the fact that a rookie NFL player has signed his rookie contract. Like, big whoop, who cares? The rookie deals are all pretty much set in stone with the rookie wage scale the way it is nowadays. And so there's not really much, unless you're the Cincinnati Bengals and you decide to go out of your way to make problems for yourself by trying to sneak in offset language and mess with the contracts of your number one, your first round draft pick, and create headaches where they don't need to be. Way to go, Cincinnati. But in most teams, it's pretty formulaic. It's pretty much, hey, you were this pick. This is what you're going to get in your rookie contract. And so to me, it's only news when you don't sign your first round pick, right? Which is why the Bengals are still in the news, because they haven't signed theirs. But the interesting deal that I saw this week, Travis Hunter signed his rookie deal. And again, the contract itself right now is not a big deal. It's whatever you usually get if you're the number 2 overall pick in the league. But I thought it was funny because I've mentioned this on social media before. The Jaguars thought it was funny, and I believe they tweeted out, like, we've signed wide receiver Travis Hunter, and then they tweeted out, we've signed defensive back Travis Hunter, because obviously he can play both positions, and that's funny and cute. The thing I think is interesting is what's going to happen in 5 years, 4 years, whenever it is, because again, the rookie contracts are 4 years, but you get the 5th-year option on all the rookies, or all the first round picks. And obviously if Travis Hunter is anywhere close to what we're expecting him to be, he's going to get that 5th-year option picked up. But whenever it happens, whenever the Jacksonville Jaguars initiate those discussions with Travis Hunter's representation about that second contract, that massive extension, assuming again he becomes a star and he gets the big deal that he's warranted, what's going to happen when his agent comes back to the Jaguars and says, okay, you drafted my guy as a wide receiver, you drafted my guy as a defensive back, best wide receiver in the league is getting paid $45 million a year. The best corner in the league is getting paid $45 million a year. So Travis Hunter's worth $90 million. Travis Hunter's worth $80 million, whatever that number is, if they say he's a top 5 corner and a top 5 wide receiver in the league, maybe even top 10, if he's worth $35 million as a receiver, $35 million as a corner, his agent's going to come tell them, listen, you said all of this from the moment you drafted him. We feel like we got 2 first-round picks. James Gladstone, the general manager, said at the time, we feel like we're getting 2 superstar players, all these things. At some point, all those quotes, all those clips are going to be played back to him, played back to the Jaguars, and they're going to say, hey, you guys have gotten 2 guys for the price of 1 for these last 4 or 5 years. Now it's time to pay up. Now you're going to pay for both of those guys. You're going to pay for the corner. You're going to pay for the wide receiver. You're going to pay Travis Hunter twice as much money as everybody else. He's going to make $70, $80 million. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying if I'm Travis Hunter and my agent is worth anything, that's where the conversation had better start. He had better start there and say, I'm 2 players. I'm going to make both of those salaries. You're going to have to pay me what I'm worth on both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be fantastic. Again, I don't know how it ends up. I don't know if that means he doesn't re-sign there and he just goes to the highest bidder and some team out there is willing to meet him close enough to that number. I'm just saying, if I'm that agent, that's where I start the conversation. Is you guys talked all this time about how he was 2 players and 2 first-round picks and 2 elite prospects. Now it's time to pay for it. You're going to have to pay me both of those salaries. I think it's going to be a fascinating thing to see play out. I hope it plays out that way just because I think it would be entertaining. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. The other thing that I thought was interesting, we saw an article from Mike Silver at The Athletic where it was about Sam Darnold and about, he's going to try to, replicate the success he had last year in Minnesota now that he's in Seattle. But I think the nugget that everybody took out of that had nothing to do with the Seahawks. It was the fact that Mike Silver reported that the Raiders did not go after Sam Darnold, in part because Tom Brady, who's a minority owner of that franchise now, kind of dissuaded them from doing that. I forget what the words he used, but he was basically like not a fan of that direction. Like that's not the direction they wanted to go in terms of upgrading the quarterback position, which again, that quarterback room in Vegas last year was just absolutely awful, arguably the worst in the league. So obviously they were going to make an upgrade this year, and Sam Darnold was definitely the best free agent on the market. But it sounds like, again, according to Mike Silver, Tom Brady, whatever influence he has in that organization, made it clear that that's not the direction he thought they should go. I actually think he was right. If that's true, if that's the case, The thing that they did do was trade a third round pick for Geno Smith, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, arguably the best quarterback move of the entire offseason of any team, because you're basically, I mean, he's a few years older than Sam Darnold, but the money is pretty much the same. It's not far off. And Geno Smith's just a better quarterback. He has been a better quarterback. He's had a longer stretch of success. I know it was, he had some hard times earlier in his career in New York, but man, I think in Seattle, he absolute rebirth, has been consistent the last few seasons, put up big numbers, even though he hasn't had any offensive line to speak of, no protection, continues to play extremely good football. I think Tom Brady, if that's what he said, if he was not a fan of Sam Darnold and he preferred to go the Geno Smith route, I don't know if he had any influence over that particular decision. But I think it was one of the most underrated moves of the offseason to bring in Geno Smith, again, reunite him with Pete Carroll now that he's the head coach there. That stability that both of those guys are going to bring to that organization that desperately needs it. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Tom Brady was heavily influencing those decisions, because he knows what those organizational stability types of things can bring to an organization after what he had in New England, and even just the 3 years he spent in Tampa. Again, stability, culture. They knew what they were about in those two buildings in New England and Tampa. And I think he's trying to bring that same stability to Vegas. I think it was the right call. Whoever's responsible for it, having Geno Smith as your quarterback instead of Sam Darnold, I think is the best course of action for the Raiders. I think we're going to see that play out on Sundays. Nothing against Sam Darnold. I hope he does have success in Seattle. But I do think Geno Smith is the better quarterback. I think it was the right decision for the Raiders, and I think we'll see that play out this season.